Hello and welcome back to my Myrtle Beach real estate video blog where I'm bringing you relevant topics about our local real estate market here along the Grand Strand. Thanks as always for joining me, and I'm here today with Barbara Gans with Brightwater. Brightwater is a retirement facility here in Myrtle Beach, the heart of Myrtle Beach, and I've had the good pleasure of meeting Barbara several times through transactions where my owners that I sell homes for end up transitioning into this facility. And I thought it was an important topic to bring to you today because there are a lot of folks, whether you're in Massachusetts and your parents live here, your mother lives here, and they are thinking about transitioning from their home into a facility like this. There is a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties on how that looks, how that transpires. And Barbara is an expert in this process, so that's why we're here today, to ask Barbara a few questions to get maybe some insight on this process and hopefully ultimately help you if you're considering making this transition. So thanks again, Barbara, for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now, Barbara, I know there's some questions you typically get. Why don't you tell us maybe one of the questions, start off with the first one that you get asked very often that's important that people should be asking as they consider this process.
Right. Well, interested parties, I always suggest that they look at as many communities as possible, as many independent living communities as possible. And the best three questions that I advise that they ask are ultimately going to be the questions they ask themselves. How do they like the community? Can they afford it? Can they afford not to move to it? And finally, what happens if? A lot of different transitions they can make in a community. They need to know if those transitions are available and what happens if they get to those points.
Well, let's start with question one. I mean, tell me more about that one and what is your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I suggest when they come to a community, really find out how do they like it? How does it make them feel? And the best way they can figure that out is by experiencing the community. Come for a tour. Truly experience the environment. I invite prospects here to Brightwater to stay with us a couple of days in the guest suite. Engage with members, participate in an activity, see if this is something they truly want to explore or not.
Well, that's great, and I can tell you also one way it's great to experience Brightwater is through a meal. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's part of the package, and Barbara can talk to you about that later if you have an interest. But I've eaten lunch here on multiple occasions, and I mean it is very good. They have a chef. I mean they have a whole staff. It is quite a great experience.
It is wonderful gourmet dining, and as you can see, we have beautiful homes. We're sitting in a cottage right now. We also have villa apartments. But the best things at Brightwater, and the best things you should be looking for, you cannot taste and you cannot see. It's got to be a feel. How do you feel in that environment? How do you feel amongst the members who live there? Is it a good feel for you? That's so important, and I highly encourage you to look to as many communities as possible.
Good. No, that's a great thought. Okay, Barbara, I know there's another question you hear often, because I get it a lot from my owners before they move into this place, is how much does this place cost? It's got to be very expensive. Can I afford it? That's question number two. Can I afford it? Tell us, how do you handle that dialogue when you talk to them? How do you advise them?
Absolutely. That's a very valid concern, Greg. I suggest they get all the facts and figures, absolutely. Find out things like who owns the property, how long have they been in business, how are they licensed by the state. As for agreements, as for occupancy agreement templates, for their review and for them to share with financial advisors, attorneys, family members. I always encourage inquiry by all those folk to help my prospect really understand the agreements. What are the home prices? What is the financial model? There are life care models out there, equity models. There are deed-based transactions, real estate transactions. It's very important to get all that clarified. Does your family have any liability when you leave the community? These are all important things. Make sure your salespeople and advisors are very transparent with all the information about the community. And when you decide on a particular home, ask for the complete cost analysis right up front. And you know what? You might be pleasantly surprised when you take into account all the services, amenities, meals that are included in the cost of occupancy. That cost might actually be less than you are currently paying to maintain your own home.
Wow. And so you literally would walk them through all of that and then even possibly say, okay, 10 years, 20 years, and you're projecting life expectancy. I mean, nobody knows, but you can run through, and then I can say if I'm 75, I can forecast 20 years and say, okay, this is basically what it's going to cost me, with inflation models and all that. Is that something y'all do?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. We do that. We do cost analysis.
Good.
We might tell somebody it doesn't fit for them.
Sure.
That's very honest about it.
Okay. Barbara, you said something about ask the what ifs earlier. Tell me a little more about that question. What do you mean?
Yep, absolutely. What if I need a higher level of care later on? We get that question all of the time. So if you're looking at communities, you need to ask what is available at that community. Do you have assisted living? Do you have memory care? Do you have skilled nursing, rehab, and long-term care? Okay. Do you have physical therapy on site? What do these areas cost? Can I utilize my long-term care insurance? How does Medicare and my own private health insurance factor in? All very important considerations. So tour these areas. Even if you don't feel like you need those areas now, it's very important that you do tour the healthcare side of any community. At Brightwater, we do offer a full continuum of care. We are the only continuing care retirement community in Horry County.
Wow. See, there's so many questions that I wouldn't even know to ask, and whatever property you tour in whatever town you're touring, these are just great questions to jot down before you meet, or just be prepared to ask whoever is touring you. So I am very indebted to Barbara and your time. I really learned a lot personally, so I hope you did. And Barbara, we appreciate you joining us. And we'll furnish Barbara's contact information on the blog and underneath the video. So if you have any questions specific, please reach out to Barbara. And of course, always email or call me with any specific questions about your property. And again, thanks, Barbara, one more time. And I look forward to talking to you next time.